Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving into something truly wild, how just one type of drug, originally made for diabetes, has accidentally triggered an economic earthquake. It's shaking the very foundations of some of the biggest companies in America.
It sounds like a crazy question, right? But it's exactly what's happening. We are witnessing a fundamental rewiring of what consumers want, not because of some clever marketing campaign, but because of pure biochemistry. And the scale of this thing, well, it's just breathtaking.
19 million. By early 2026, that's how many Americans are expected to be on GLP-1 drugs like Ozempic and Wegovy. Now, to put that in perspective, that number was just 5 million back in 2023. This isn't some niche trend anymore, it is a full-blown macroeconomic force.
Okay, so let's get right into it. To really get why this is causing such massive economic shockwaves, you first have to understand what these drugs do and why suddenly everyone is talking about them.
So look, these GLP-1s are a whole different ballgame. They aren't your typical diet pill. They work on this really deep biological level. They basically hijack a hormone in your gut to tell your brain, hey, we're full here, and they slow everything down. And the results? They're unbelievable. We're talking people losing 15, even 20% of their body weight.
And that adoption curve is just getting steeper and steeper. A huge reason why is that we're moving from injections to simple, once-a-day pills. That's a game changer. It's just easier. Some projections have us hitting 30 million users by 2030. That's a massive slice of the entire adult population in the US.
Okay, so let's track the first and maybe most obvious ripple effect, the direct body blow to the processed food industry. You know, an entire sector that was built on getting us to eat more, not less.
This brings us to a new term you're going to hear a lot more: caloric deflation. For the very first time, big food companies are facing a population that is being biochemically programmed to want less of their stuff. I mean, this is a massive threat to business models that have relied on us mindlessly grabbing another bag of chips for decades.
And look, this isn't some academic theory. It is happening right now. Just look at these numbers. PepsiCo's Frito-Lay, a company that is supposed to be recession-proof, has seen sales volumes drop for more than a year straight. Hershey's salty snacks plummeting. This is not a blip on the radar. It's a fundamental change in what people buy.
So let's follow this to the next ripple, because this is where things get even more interesting. These drugs don't just change your appetite for food, they seem to be changing our brains.
And this is the key. GLP-1s can actually cross the blood-brain barrier. They get into our brains and start messing with our reward centers. You know, the part that gives you that little jolt of pleasure, that dopamine hit, from things like a drink or a cigarette or even placing a bet. By turning down the volume on that pleasure signal, they're curbing all sorts of impulsive behaviors.
And you can see the fallout hitting entire industries, what some people call the sin economy. Think about it. These businesses are built on us acting on impulse. But now half of GLP-1 users say they're drinking less. A huge number of smokers report fewer cravings. Even Las Vegas is feeling it, as that urge to make just one more bet seems to be fading.
And just look at the hard numbers here. Diageo, the spirits giant, saw its North American sales completely crater. And at a bigger level, the percentage of American adults who drink has now fallen to its lowest point in nearly a century. That's not just a trend, that's a massive cultural and chemical shift.
The disruption goes way beyond just snacks and drinks. This number, nearly a 50% drop, that's the collapse in bariatric surgeries since late 2022. It makes sense, right? Why go through a major, invasive surgery when a pill can give you results that are almost as good? A whole medical specialty is being turned upside down.
But you know how it goes. Where there are losers, you can bet there are always winners. And this huge economic shift is creating this whole new ecosystem of products and services, some from places you would absolutely never expect.
What we're seeing is this giant reallocation of money. The cash that used to go to a stomach surgeon now goes to a plastic surgeon for excess skin removal. The money you spent on Doritos is now going to high-protein shakes to make sure you don't lose muscle. Even gyms are getting in on it, rebranding themselves as a form of healthcare. And now for maybe the most surprising winner of all. Airlines. Yeah, airlines. For them, every pound costs money in fuel. So, a lighter average passenger directly translates to less fuel burned. For just the top 4 U.S. carriers, that adds up to over $500 million in savings every single year. It's a direct boost to their profits, all thanks to a prescription drug.
$13 billion. That's what the apparel industry is expected to rake in from this.
I mean, think about it. When millions and millions of people all drop 2 or 3 pant sizes at the same time, they all need a brand new wardrobe. It's forcing this massive shopping spree, pumping billions into a retail sector that desperately needed it.
Okay, let's zoom out to the final and biggest ripple of all. This is the multi-trillion-dollar headache facing every single large employer in America. Because at the end of the day, someone has to pay for these drugs, and that someone is them.
So here's the massive trade-off they're all facing. On one hand, you have the sticker shock. Covering these drugs costs a fortune. We're talking over 12 grand per employee per year. It's causing the biggest jump in health insurance costs in 15 years. But the bet they're making is that this huge cost now will save them even more money down the road on things like hospital bills for a healthier workforce.
So is the bet paying off? Well, the early data seems to say a big yes. A huge study from Aon shows these absolutely staggering long-term health benefits. A 37% drop in heart attacks and strokes overall. The numbers are even better for female employees, with huge reductions in certain cancers too. The return on that investment, both in dollars and in health, is becoming undeniable.
And this quote really just nails it. For the better part of a century, our entire consumer economy was built on one simple idea, that we will always be driven by impulse to buy more. And now that core assumption has been, well, pharmacologically broken.
So we've seen the impact on food, on alcohol, on airlines, on clothing. But as the number of users swells towards 30 million, and maybe even beyond, these ripples are only going to get wider and hit more shores. The real question isn't if more industries will be disrupted, but which ones and how soon.